Here's the prologue to the new novel, which was written some time ago, truly sent ahead. It's called Sides. A long, long time ago. In the before time, I think before that even. Really? That long? So long that no one has ever measured it. That's how long it is. Sap, I'm telling this story, okay? Not necessarily. No kidding. No, I mean, it's not necessarily your story to tell. And how would we be knowing that, wee miss? Saphira's eyes grow big with tears. That quickly. Pardon me. Oh, pardon me. Hop to it, mister. Okay, Stan says hurriedly. You tell it. Tell me anything. You. Really? Yes, it'll be great, whatever you say. He's learned a thing or two, that Athelstan. A long, 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 she pauses. Ago, before even there was time, before even the before time, before long even. I'm just saying long to you because really, it could have been yesterday. She pauses, looks sideways at her brother. Check. A woman fell through a hole in the sky. A whole woman through an unholy sky. Unholy only in the sense that there was only one hole through which for her to fall. Who made that hole? There is no guessing. We just, and she looks at him sharply, we just don't know. But Stan knows that if he so much as blinks, damn it, too late. We don't even, Sap, I wasn't, not even that. That's how little much we don't. And we can tell now that this particular telling itself is not contained by time as we know it. This may be obvious. It contains time inside of itself, because his sister's narrative strictures instantly remind him of Sergeant Art Kane, Stan's former sergeant and oldest friend from the First World War, which is now somehow over, saying, nada, rien, nix, nihilo, nothing, nada, zippo, zilch, none, no-how. And his, Art's, face pales with streaks of mud, and splatters and splats, and it's cold and it's morning, and it's at the front near Ypres, and his sergeant is telling him how many Mills bombs they have left with which to handle the next counterattack. She's looking straight at him when he snaps back. Okay? Okay. Are you with me on this one, Pipperoo? Because if you aren't, we may as well go back to carrots and winter. She calls him that, Pipperoo, because of the pips that Imperial, that is to say British, army officers wore on their shoulders. Stan, it must be said, never rose above second lieutenant, but he did win the Croix de Guerre from a grateful French government for his actions under fire during the battle for the Vimy Ridge on 9th April, 1917. Gotcha, listening, am, he confirms smartly. So, the Huronian people, and the Neutralian people, and the People-Weeple people, the Boustrophalongs and the Antilongs and the Anteaters, the Hopscotch Nines, even the Rento-Heaters, they all say the same thing, coming and going. She fell through a hole in the sky, and either hit the water or the turtle first. Not sure which, Saphira cautions, alive to her brother's many feints and counterblazons. But she gets up on his back, and all the otters in the universe carry dirt in their mouths and make the earth, right then and there, for her alone. No man, Stan states flatly. Not even Matt, there's so few of N, Sap snaps. Sharp as something that hasn't been invented yet, or even to this day. Suddenly, thuddingly, very faintly, Stan can hear them already stir, the distant punge and flutter of the guns, across which Sap talks unerringly. So she falls from this hole in the sky. Now, turtles are always watching the sky for things that might fall on them, for to carry them away. But my guess is, this first turtle let her land in water, so that land could be brought to the turtle from her, from the water, by the otters. And they built an earth for her to clamber on, just like turtles do. Thing is, Sap continues, what is she eating? Stan hates that when she chews when she talks, which she knows. She's probably faking it just to... She doesn't hit the shell. Nobody is looking to harm anyone else here, which is why when she gets all neat and tidy, she makes... Can you guess what she makes? Stan shakes his head. Another woman, Saphira exults, and 10,000 billion more otters. Only they don't call them otters, these women. No? Stan asks. Decidedly not. They call them sides. It has to do with the tides. Even I don't understand that, Sal adds blankly. The guns back off a ways. I mean the sound of them. The sound of the guns. There are a few small, enormous things I should tell you here, in case you have picked up this book out of nowhere and are wondering what the... Sapphira Allward, sister of Athelstan, she died from the Spanish influenza before the First World War actually ended, before her Canadian Expeditionary Force officer brother made it home. I would not call her a ghost. I might call her a persistent little ghost, but if I did, I would not really be talking about sap at all. She and Stan share a history of stepping over timelines, tenses too. If she seems young to us now, it's because she was born in 1900 and was 15 when Stan went overseas. My guess is she's about 12 here, which would make Stan 14 or so in this 1912, except the war, the Great War for Civilization, which civilization decidedly lost, has already happened, and in addition is never really over. Typical. Athelstan means noble stone and comes from a book. People, and by that I mean Canadian people, working class, when there really was one, solid and stolid and staid and household after household of them, people, in Canada, in Toronto even, sometimes called their children after names they found in books. And by that I mean literature, because in those days, say 100 years ago and then just keep going back, 100 after 100 after 100, so-called simple people read deeply, and well, a handful of books, and they read them again and again. Athelstan came to stand from an at that time relatively new book, a book so new it pretended to be old, called Ivanhoe. Sapphira came to sap through a collection of little books that we call the little books, but which really, we don't actually say that, the little books, we call them the Bible. Anyway, Athelstan wasn't altogether understanding his sister, this telling of hers. I'll explain, she carried on, assumingly. There are no men because there are no men. And there are so many otters because there oughter be. Ha! Stan almost jumped from where he sat. Ha! Was not the kind of sound his sister was wont to be making. So, Sapphira continued, and if you, reader, want to know what her name means, I will save you the trouble. It means beautiful, so beautiful continued. So, she made another woman. She must have been lonely or something. Stan just stares. This is her story now. Now, these two women, I won't say what they were wearing because, giggle, they weren't. Sap whispered this last, and as she laughed, all the paling dawn fell away, the sound of the guns ceased completely, and the two of them, sister and brother, found themselves on a small front porch on a not too large street in a fairly big city called Toronto. Sullivan Street, to be exact, just off Spadina to the right, and the light, there's no sun, only light, bounced off the whitewashed railings of the porch fence, and bounced off the daylit factories down the street, and bounced and pounced and jounced on the grass, what little grass there was, growing green and green down either sides of the crushed gravel walk leading to the porch from the wooden sidewalking way. Sapphira looks around. This is not a neighborhood in which one says naked, because they weren't really. That's the both of them tumbling down Giggle Alley. Let's just say they were Nature Alley, thinking in terms of twos. Sap gets very grave now, and to both arrest her brother's wayward imagination and pin it down where she wants. She made 2 shells. Now that last word, shells, changes everything. It was not the word she meant to say. She meant to say turtles. 2 more turtles. Arrowheads might also have averted it, if the nations of the earth, the terrors of the earth, resided in those, but they do so no longer. What changed when Sapphira said the word shells? Well, first, the light got dimmer, as if there were a dimmer switch the size of half the sky, and Sullivan Street disappeared, and the under-gun sound began again, far, far, and much nearer, come thrumming from these engines and machines, steel shavings and lathes, and mean-eyed men, and shock-haired women with yellow-bleached hair, almost all around them, ghostly decanters of a gong song long gone. The 2 children now sat in a shell manufactory on Liberty Street. The only sane thing was the city. There were no sane things. Sapphira continues. She made 2 shells, and they were hollow. Boom, boom! You couldn't wear them, couldn't share them. They were hollow. Boom, boom! But then they were turtles after all. and sprouted hands and feet and paws, and one little heady apiece, and at each end a tail, and, as animals will, they fought. Stan, for one, is surprised. So is Sap. This was, I must say, she says, not the kind of island these women had had at first in mind. What about the otters? Appalled. What about Sir William Otter? Appalled, she adds quickly. Even he would be appalled. The factory was bright with something like scissors, huge, gargantuan, shafting through the skylight that itself seemed cut out from the building's top. You might call it a clear-story roof, if only to hear the words clear and story sound together in the same sentence, but Sapphira would not hear you. She knows the word anyway. She volunteered in this place during the war, before she down and died. Scission light, snipping the shock-yellow hair and the mean-eyed men into little strips, or something like that. Sap tells on. So these two turtles, the one was shadowy, and the other was shady, and they fought, and they fought, and they fought. They fought before those two first ladies. They fought, and they fought, and they fought, until one day, and she let the word day hang for the longest time. Yes, Stan urged, get it over with, for Christ's sake. But Christ is very fond of Sap, and will let her go on until the doom cows come swinging home to milk doomsday, vortwarts, inwards, upstarts, and sideways. They stopped fighting. At that, the entire shell manufactory disappears. They are in a meadow. Horses are tied to trees. They are military horses, but still no men. Stan looks around, looking for... He's not here. He's not here, dear one, Sapphira says. Much older now, in face and build, almost a lady herself. She's referring to John Harold. Now the shadowy turtle gets the worst of it, and sheds blood. And this blood, dark and copious, trickles into all the facets and fissures of the earth. Whenever one digs and hits it, one brings up flint. Sapphira reaches into her lap. They are sitting cross-legged, the both of them. The grass sighs and sings into the prairie wind, and you would think, Stan at first certainly does think, she brings up a dark, smooth, almost soapy piece of stone. Instead, she brings up a shell, an 18-pounder artillery shrapnel shell, ticking like a clock. Stan starts, then everything goes dark. He checks his trench watch. 5:15 a.m. He is in the trenches before Vimy. Sergeant Kane is beside him. Each wears a turtle shell in place of a shrapnel helmet, both of which glow like moons. Sergeant Kane takes his off because if the enemy sees one of these. And by the light of that moon, auburn hair cascades down Arthur Kane's diminished shoulders. It's Sap. She looks much younger now, no more than 5 or 6. And she says... She says straight at Stan, God's blood in 15 minutes.